Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Program. And March is Washington Wine Month. So I thought I would dedicate this episode to some really good Washington wines. But before we taste them, I'd like to say that it's been a really busy week for me. A lot of stuff going on. This is my first video I shot all week, which is really unusual for me. I'm even embarrassed that I haven't made a blog post recently. I mean, I've been working on I Want to Taste 50 Washington wines on my StanTheWineman.com, and you know, I'm behind. I got a lot of work ahead of me. Got to keep that up. But I wanted to dedicate this to Washington wines, and in particular a couple of producers that I really enjoy. I've discovered some just recently, and you know, some I'm very familiar with, and I've been a fan of them for a long time. So let's get started. The first one we're going to try is Menina Cellars Sangiovese 2011 Walla Walla Valley. Now, as you know, Walla Walla in let me zoom in and you can see the label. There it is. Walla Walla Valley is a really highly esteemed appellation in Washington State. A lot of really high-end wines come out of Walla Walla. And this one rolls in at $26 US. Now this Sangiovese is really starting to take a foothold in Washington State. A lot of producers are really doing a nice job with it. Washington State is the fourth leading producer of Sangiovese in the world. Of course, we know number one is Italy. Chianti is basically Sangiovese. Brunello di Montalcino is a clone of Sangiovese that fits into that particular terroir environment. And then there's Vino Nobile di Montalcino, which is also Sangiovese. So big time grape in Italy, as most of you probably know. Believe it or not, Argentina is the second leading producer of Sangiovese. I have yet to try one from Argentina, but they have a really strong Italian community there, and well, that makes sense, right? The Italians brought the Sangiovese with them. But I find that Washington Sangiovese are really coming along. There's a lot of wineries that are doing it now, and you know, I've found some very good ones. Let's see how this one does. Let's see what the Menina is like on the nose. So I get some currants and cherries on the nose. A little bit of tobacco, maybe some anise or licorice. It has a little bit of a vanilla component, no doubt from the oak. Now on the back of this label, I was reading this earlier, it said they use aged in neutral French puncheons. So it's neutral oak, but even neutral oak can give you that kind of that old wood, you know, sort of smell, you know, when you walk into an old barn or something. So it's kind of like, you know, currant soaked old wood. Let's see what we get on the palate. Boatload of acidity on this baby. Some customers might describe this as sour, which is usually related to acidity. It really is. It makes my mouth water. It's got a lot of acid. A lot of bright fruit flavors because of that acid. Because of that acid, the fruit kind of knocks up into a brighter edge. Still like bright currants, bright cherries, like red cherries. This is very mouthwatering. I mean, very. This needs food. You know, there's some wines that you can drink solo. You know, you can enjoy them like as a cocktail wine. That's the very popular trend now, is for cocktail wines. But this one needs food. This would be great with lamb. It'd be great with a stew. Something savory needs to be had with this wine in order for those tannins, and not the tannins, the acidity to kind of soften up just a little bit. You need something to match up with that, something spicy, like a rack of lamb or some barbecued chicken would be really good with this. I think the acid's a little high for the fruit. If you're an acid freak, you're going to love this. I get a little bit of tobacco on the finish, but that acid is just overbearing. To me, I think it's a little bit out of balance with the acid. $26 for an acid bomb. I'm going to have to give it a C+. I mean, I think with food it would be good, but by the same token, acid is okay, but it can't be out of balance with the fruit. You have to have a little bit of fruit in there to kind of, let's go C plus B minus, because I do think it would be good with food. Let's move on to the next one. Give it a little rinse here. I got some nice things coming up. I have an interview coming up with Luke Bradford from Core Cellars. I have some dude from Beaufrères. I wish I would have remembered his name, but he's coming up. He's coming up with a sales rep. We're going to do a little interview with him. Beaufrères is a really well-known Oregon producer of Pinot Noir. Robert Parker Jr.'s brother-in-law runs that winery. Therefore, Robert Parker does not rate the wines. That's big of him, isn't it? Now let's move on to this next one. Corvidae Wine Company, Lenore Syrah, 2011, Columbia Valley, Appellation. This is Owen Rowe's second, well, I shouldn't say it's their second label. It's a label done by David O'Reilly of Owen Rowe fame. And they're obviously less money than many of the Owen Rowe wines. This one rolls in at $16. And this is a Syrah. And I think I've said this before, but two of my favorite places for Syrah are the Rhone Valley, of course, Côte Rôtie in particular, Croix Hermitage, those areas, and Washington State. And Washington State, believe it or not, is on the same parallel as the Rhone Valley, so you can get the idea. And of course, we don't have the Mistral winds and all those things that create the type of Syrah you get from the Rhone Valley. But still, Washington Syrah is awesome. And I'm just sad to see Syrah still lagging. I just read an article by Joe Roberts, One Wine Dude, where he talks about, some studies they've done, and Syrah is still lagging behind in sales. No doubt due to all the cheap Shiraz that's been thrown at us by Australia. And people kind of, I don't want to do Syrah Shiraz anymore. But they're missing out. If you aren't drinking Syrah, you're missing out, particularly from the Rhone Valley and from Washington. Let's see what we get on the nose. Immediately you get that toasty, bacon fat, boysenberry, plum on the nose right off the bat. And that's the beauty of Syrah. I mean, their nose is really, really interesting. And we use the term bacon fat, but just think of cooking bacon on the grill and those aromas that come up. Very similar to many Syrahs out of Washington State. I even get a little bit of blue fruit, maybe some blueberry on the nose. Very, 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 I love the nose on this thing. Let's see what we get on the palate. A nice bright edge to it, but unlike the Menina, this one has the fruit to back up that kind of cutting acidity that you get on that. Get the bacon fat, get the boysenberry, get the plum, get the toastiness. All is there on this wine, and a little bit of, I still get the blueberry aspect on the backside. Sort of like a little bit like maybe an underripe blueberry. Again, the acid is a little too high in this one that I would, to drink solo as a cocktail wine, but with food this would be great. I could drink it by itself because the acid isn't that high. However, food would definitely make this a better wine. And this is both of these are from a tough vintage. 2011 was not one of the best vintages out of Washington, and Washington is really consistent with its vintages. This you can see that they were lost a ton of fruit in 2011. There was a big frost in 2010, in around November, killed a lot of the buds. I know Coyote Canyon lost practically everything of their wines from Horse Heaven Hills. So, you know, the fruit wasn't as available. Some of these guys had to settle for fruit that they normally probably wouldn't use. But this still gets raw. I'm going to give it a B minus. B minus, B. Good job. Let's move on to the next one. I also have an interview coming up with Chris Sparkman, which I'm really looking forward to. And I'm trying to plan to get over to Eastern Washington and interview Bill Powers from Powers Winery. This guy's been a farmer over there for decades. He's 85 years old. They'd like to get him on film. I'd like to get him on film. The guy is passionate about farming. He's farmed organically like forever, and he's a really interesting guy, and I'm hoping to be able to arrange that. Let's talk about this one. This is Efeste Final from well, they're based, I believe, out of Walla Walla, but this is Columbia Valley Fruit. And Efeste is a play on the names, parts of the names of the owners of the winery. But this is a blend of 59% Cabernet Sauvignon and 41% Syrah. Let's see what we get on the nose. This one rolls in at $28. This one's very perfumed. I get a little perfumed tobacco. I get a little blueberry currant action on the nose. A little vanilla thing going on. But it's real perfumey. It's got this interesting, like, have you ever had that oatmeal soap? You ever tried that? It reminds me a little bit of that smell. And it's a much deeper than any of the Syrah or the Menina Sangiovese that I've tried so far, which you would expect from a cab, having the cab and the Syrah together. Let's see what we get on the palate. Much more polished. It's got a little spice action going on. Definitely I get currants. It's deep. It's very smooth, very balanced. Excuse me. I splashed on my glasses. Got to clean them off. So this is much deeper than the other wines. I'm even getting a little bit of blueberry on this, on the palate. This baby has nice structure. There's a little bit of tobacco. There's a toastiness to it. Definitely, you can taste that Syrah in there. But the cab holds its own. You get that currant, structured wine. There's some tannins on the backside. A little bit of grippiness. I like the spice on this. It's still got good acidity, which, you know, when you're looking at a wine that you might want to age, I know a lot of us don't have the patience, but for $28, you might want to buy a couple bottles of these, tuck them away. 5-8 years from now, this is going to be a beautiful bottle of wine as those tannins kind of integrate with the fruit and the acid. I believe you're going to have a really special bottle. It's really good right now. Even a tiny hit of like tomato leaf or blackberry leaf or something like that is in this wine. And I like the grip on the backside. So this is one of those wines, yes, you could drink it by itself, you know, maybe nibble on something here and there. You don't necessarily have to have food with this, but this would be terrific with a rib steak, you know, grilled rib, you know, a rack of lamb. I mean, a lot of different things this wine could go with. Sturdy, but balanced with good acidity. I like this wine a lot. I'm even getting a little bit of like a, yeah, that tomato stem thing really comes back through on the backside. I like this one. I'm going to give it an A minus. $28. You could tuck this away. Good bottle of wine. Good job, Efeste. Now let's move on to the next one. This one is from Sparkman Cellars. I just met Chris Sparkman a couple of months ago. Guy is awesome. He's super friendly, funny guy. Really enjoyed talking with him. Sparkman Darkness Syrah, Yakima Valley, 2011. Did I mention the Efeste was 2010? This is 2011. Cool label. This one rolls in at $63, so nothing to sneeze at here. This is a Syrah, and as I talked about, I believe Syrahs are awesome out of Washington. So let's see what we get on the nose. Chris Sparkman, by the way, is the chairman of the Washington Wine Committee right now, and he's really been working hard to get information out there about Washington wine. He's doing a good job. Let's see what we get on the nose. So to me, this has classic Washington Syrah all over the aromas. There's that bacon fat, plum, currant, toastiness on the nose. It's like you know you're in for a treat. Perfumed, deep, like it's like one of those kind of wines that you could just smell for a long time and just really enjoy it. You get even a little bit of violet action on this wine. Now you say, $63, I know that's expensive, but when you talk about Northern Rhone like Côte Rôtie, Hermitage, Croix Hermitage, $63 is cheap. I mean, there's some Côte Rôties that go for $150, $200 easily. So $63 is, really not that bad if you want a really classic Syrah. I'm not saying this is classic. The nose is classic. Let's see what we get on the palate. This is one of those kind of Syrahs where you got to sit and think about it. I mean, it's deep, it's polished, it's rich, it's layered, it's complex, it's got bacon fat, it's got the currants, it's got the boysenberry, got the spiciness on the backside, it's got good weight all the way across the palate, but it finishes clean, it's not goopy, it doesn't hang around the palate, you don't feel like you're drinking a big goopy zin from Paso Robles, or a big Australian Shiraz. That one's hard to spit out. And then it's got that little, right on the backside, you get that black licorice element coming through. If you want to treat yourself, I know I'm the blue collar wine guy. Blue collar guys go out and spend some money every once in a while. I'm not saying, blue collar means you work hard for your money. Well, you work for your money on a daily basis, which is, I do. I have a job, I go to it, I do okay. And yes, I would spend $63 on this wine if I wanted to spoil myself. I have some other favorites from Washington. I'm always looking for those, great Syrahs under 25 bucks. I haven't found one yet that hits this level. I do know of a couple. Lois, Waters Lois Vineyard Syrah is really good. It rolls in at about $40, $45. Long Shadow Sequel is another good example. That rolls in at about 50 bucks. But this is right up there with them. And I like the acidity on this wine. Yeah. Delicious. Well made. Complex, deep, go with food. You can drink this by itself. Great wine. I'm giving this wine an A+. I don't do that a lot, but I like this wine. And I think that, I believe that this wine will improve over the next 5 to 10 years. You could lay it away, forget about it, pull it out for an anniversary, a birthday, whatever you want to do. You are going to be in for a treat. Well, there you go. Happy Washington Wine Month. Cheers, and here's to keeping the snob out of wine. Thanks for watching.